Hello, hello, my beloved waking gods and goddesses. Maria West here. Welcome to Love, Truth, and Beauty. This is episode 378 and my 12th installment of conversations with women on love, truth, and beauty. And with me today is this amazing woman that I just came upon during one of Michael Tessarian and David Whitehead's latest podcasts on Unslaved. Megan, Usui, welcome. Holy moly. I've got like this effervescent jitters talking about you because toxic femininity is one of my favorite topics because it is so pervasive on so many levels. And with all the wokeism and all the man-hating and all that, women weaponizing the woundology, so to speak. Yeah, and I know you have a lot to say because you've actually been in amongst the masses talking to young women who are actually utilizing their beauty in order to get through life or get over in life, get over on men. Yeah, tell us about yourself. How'd you get here?
Well, yeah, that's a long story, and I want to give you a quick summary. I'll start by saying that I'm a fourth generation Japanese American. And I know we have the Asian American background, which gives us a little different perspective on that slice of Americana and how we experience that. And your experience is different than mine. I'll start off by saying my dad, while he worked at Boeing, and I come from a scientific upbringing, he was an Elvis impersonator.
Wow.
My dad was, and
How
if
cool
you
is
saw
that?
him, he's just a total character, always wearing a cowboy hat and boots. Like, he loved country music, loved Elvis. He loved Hawaiian slacky guitar. He was a musician and a singer. But his 9 to 5 was as the dutiful Asian American, bringing home solid paycheck and not making too many waves. So with the Japanese Americans, you have their history of the internment camps.
Yes.
And my dad was born in camp. My mom was conceived of in camp.
Wow.
And when they were released, they wanted to prove that they were nothing but American. So what's really interesting for not only for their generation, but certainly for my generation, we don't have Japanese names. We didn't grow up speaking Japanese. So when people see me, they'll think, oh, well, you must speak, your English is pretty good. And do you speak Japanese at home? Like, no,
Wow.
no, because they didn't want to hold on really to anything that was identifiably the enemy at that time.
Yeah.
So our upbringing was filled up with a lot of, I would say, an identity crisis of who are we? And me, as a fourth generation Japanese American, myself and hardly any of my cousins and peers of that generation married another Japanese American. We just assimilated. I grew up, there were no Asians at school with me. We just pretty much thought we were white. So we would call ourselves a banana, yellow on the outside.
I remember that. Or coconut, actually.
Yeah, okay. So I have, in one dimension, a very normal Gen X upbringing. And because I grew up in a very apolitical, a-religious household, when I got to college, I felt like I don't know anything about anything. And I wanted to study history just so I could get a sense of what's going on in the world. And then I could start to see that the narrative of history being told in my classroom didn't reflect what I saw in real life. And at a certain point, I started delving into alternative research, that rabbit hole that I'm sure you've been down longer than I have, and you realize that there's a matrix.
Yes.
And probably when you saw when I saw The Matrix, that I was arrested. I was so stunned. I was on a bad date, but he was forgiven because he brought me to this great life-changing movie,
What was the movie?
The Matrix, one in
Oh,
90.
oh, okay. Okay.
When I saw
Yeah.
that, and that
Whoa.
to me really felt like a documentary. And I'm looking around like, is everyone else having this experience? And no, because as you know, most people are just NPCs and they're
That's
drones.
what they are. Yep.
That's just an action movie like anything else.
Yeah.
Uh, Through strange circumstances, I would say around in the teens, in the early teens, I was getting into the neo-reactionary movement, the dissident right, studying a lot of political philosophy. And one of the segments of political philosophy that fascinated me was how feminism is has been so pervasive and controlling of economics and our whole power structure. And so
Yeah.
this whole
Absolutely.
idea of the gynocracy and this evil matriarchy, that really made so much
Yeah.
sense to me. And probably like a lot of women that I meet in this small sphere that we're in, I too did not enjoy the company of a lot of women because of the toxic femininity that I
Yeah.
couldn't label, but that I could
Yeah.
just feel. So
Yeah.
I'm another one who uh, feels like I'm more logical than the average female. I really like to have male company and male conversations. I'm not interested in drama and gossip. And it was to the point where in college, I was very fearful of having girls. I thought I don't
I believe it.
not navigating this very
Yeah.
well. And I
Yeah.
know enough to know that raising young ladies in this 21st century world that we're going to be in is going to be very treacherous. So I had told my college roommate that if I have any girls, I'm just going to ship them off to her and she can raise them and I'll raise all the boys. Because while I think being a man today, growing up male, is very hard
Hmm.
because of that suppression of what masculinity
Yeah.
could and
Yeah.
be, uh, that seems more straightforward to me than what does it mean to be a healthy young woman growing up today in the 21st
Yeah.
century.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very murky
Yeah.
because
It is. It's not just murky. It's almost like it's a no-win situation. No matter what trajectory you try to go to, you're going to hit a brick wall and you're going to go splat because we're so chaotic in nature. And I'm with you. I'm very, very logical. I have a science background. I don't like a lot of drama. And the girls that I grew up with, wow, woo, they scared me because they reflected the psychosis that was my mother. So I was raised by a man-hating psychopath, basically, who used her beauty, hated men. I didn't know my father. I mean, just the whole 9 yards, but she masked it being very competent. I don't need a man. You don't need to do that. But she was very resentful of other women as well. So that competitive thing and the things that I witnessed her doing. So I'm just like, I'm with you. It's like, thank God I never, ever had children of my own. I had stepkids. Uh,
Mhm.
because I don't know, I think I would have flipped out. I would have, I don't know, tried to box her up or something to protect her from the lunacy of this confusion of, wow, how am I supposed to be? How does it
Yeah.
work?
And now, like you mentioned, now you are kind of helping to raise young women because they're coming to you as clients and
Yeah.
you're trying to sort them out. And one of the things I think is so difficult is we've all been raised to be the strong, independent woman and to focus on our careers. And it's completely divorced from our biology of what
Mhm.
Mother Nature has said. This is how I've designed you. I've designed you to become a woman in your teens and to be able to procreate. And that shelf life is not going to last forever.
Yeah, it's not.
And women are in their 30s wanting to focus on their careers, but then it's like an alarm goes off.
Right, right. Backed by science as
Yes,
well,
yes.
and all of that.
We're off course here, and behind. You need to find the man, and
Yeah,
you want to have those two kids.
yeah.
So let's get with the program. So then this desperation ensues to either tie down that boyfriend that they're with, who they haven't really thought about. Is this the right partner for me? Is this someone
Exactly.
who
Exactly.
I
I
want?
remember that. I actually
Yeah.
remember that in the 90s when I was in my 30s. And by the way, I know Michael Tsarian in person. I actually worked with him as a client in the mid 90s when we were both
Wow, you guys have known each other for a long
in
time.
California, Silicon Valley is what I call it now. And so it was amazing because I had hit a wall where I had done all the things, raised my stepkids, divorced the second husband who couldn't figure out whether he was gay, bi, or straight, and just went my own way, immersed in the work that I'm doing now already. And just trying to figure out, well, what does this all mean? And it was my work with Michael where I really started going down the rabbit holes, because I witnessed when I was traveling, going to places where there was trafficking and pedophilia and all that kind of stuff. And that was my focus at the time. These were managed, these were operated by women who had children. And I was like, my mind was blown. I could not even believe it. So, that gynocratic man hate, it's not just man hating. I think it's life hating. It's definitely nature hating.
I call it
And
anti-natal.
yes, yes, very much so. It creeped me out. It really, really creeped me out. And it just was so evident that there is some kind of sinister shit show going on in the background. And so I started looking more into like where was this? So like for you, I can't even, and you were raising kids at that time?
Yeah, I had two sons, so I was fortunate to have sons that I didn't screw up a bunch of girls who are they're young adults now, and one is a Marine, and one is a basketball player. And I think where they're a bit fortunate is I've been able to tell them about what the story is behind what they learn in school, and they nod their heads and they seem to get it, and they'll say, oh, okay, that's why that girl acts like that. And I
Oh,
and trying to
wow.
raise them to have compassion
Mm-hmm.
for girls, because
Yeah.
I look at everybody as everybody is trying. Everybody's trying to
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
trying to be competent.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to fit in. And in my life, I don't see a lot of villains, but we have villainous behaviors.
Yes. Yes. And it's like that sort of monkey see, monkey do.
Yes.
And this is where I look at my generation of women. I'm just like right on the cusp of baby boomers and the Gen Xers,
Gen X,
59. It's like, holy moly. And just witnessing just the polarities within the polarities of how to be and adopting. So I've made the gamut. I've run the gamut. I've been a crazy biatch from hell. I've done it. And
That's very honest of you.
I noticed when I adopted that mode, I was emulating mama stuff, like my mother. And that was when I really started doing the dive. And in my early 20s, I started working with a Jungian therapist. And
Oh, how fortunate for you.
it was so good. Pearl was the best. And she just ran me through the ringer. And so I started reading all the Alice Miller books and just getting really disturbed. I had the stepkids at the time, and I'm like going, oh, I cannot mess these kids up. I can't. So that responsibility, I feel that within you as well, with your sons. It's like, oh, no, 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 no. And this is where I think we as women, we have so much to answer for, because so many of us, we were just either drunk or stoned or just willfully ignore it. We're gonna brush it under the carpet, or we're gonna throw our kids under the bus, throw our men under the bus, throw ourselves under the bus, because we don't want to look at the ugly, messy that is modern day women.
Well, who taught us how to do that?
Yes.
Nobody. We
Yeah.
didn't have mentors for this.
Yeah. No, I learned it from my mom.
Yeah,
Totally.
so it's natural for us to just carry out familiar frequencies and
Mhm.
patterns of our family of origin. So it makes sense how we're not really, our agency for most people is very low,
Yes.
because we're not really taught what true agency is, because I don't think
Right.
you can learn that until someone explains to you, here's why you're making most of the choices that you are. Because
Yeah.
like you said, we're just copycats.
Yes.
Renee Girard was a famous Stanford professor who developed this theory called memetics, and he's showed us that we're looking towards people who we feel, not think, are
Mhm.
successful, but who our
Mhm.
nervous system is saying they're getting resources, especially for women. They're
Yeah.
the ones who
Yeah.
are getting resources. So just follow that plan, whether it's logical or not. So I, like a lot of women in this space, had a liberal ethos, because that was like water for us. I grew up
Yes.
in the Northwest, and while there were conservative pockets, not in the Asian American community. I mean, for you and I, we're probably in the minority of Asian women whose values align more with conservative values.
That's
Or
so,
by
so
default,
true. Yeah. Yeah.
we're just
And
liberal.
especially, I was in San Francisco,
Oh
and
yeah, it's
so
even
to
worse. I
be
grew up in Seattle,
politically
so
astute, yes, I was not politically astute. I saw right through it. It's like, yeah, I'm not voting. There's nobody on this planet that is above reproach, and I'm not doing it. When I was a teenager, I would read all kinds of like crazy stuff, Solzhenitsyn, the Gulag Archipelago. I was down with that stuff. I'm like going, no, no, we're not doing this. And when I was in college, I went to a very, very Marxist, uber liberal college. And I got recruited as a science major to join the women's studies department. And it was evident with these women, and they were white, middle class, middle aged, very unhappy women who discovered academia because their marriages and their families failed, and they were starting to explore lesbian relationships within
yeah.
themselves. I was 16 when this shit was going down, and I'm going, oh, no, I see what's going on here. Pushing that victim consciousness, and especially being Asian or being Eurasian, and, me being an immigrant, I had to learn English. So and was forbidden to speak anything else but English. And I was very conscious of not knowing certain words. I had a German nanny. So I thought mixtures of English, Spanish, German, and Filipino, Pangasinan, the dialect my mother spoke. I thought that was one language. So
Of course, why
imagine,
wouldn't you?
I know. And so I felt stupid a lot of times. So I just remember just kind of sitting back and listening to these women, because I checked off all these little boxes. But overall, what they were pushing is, poor little Asian girl, you must experience so much sexism and racism and yin and all these isms. And it wasn't true.
Yes,
I
yeah.
didn't experience any of that. None of it whatsoever. And so I went along with it. Like, what are you guys up to? What are you chicas up to? I don't know what you're up to. But it
They
was,
didn't know what they were up to.
no, they did not. They really, really didn't, But one of my professors was Angela Davis, and I learned a lot from her.
Really?
She was amazing, actually, and of course she's like pushing her whole thing, but I was able to like sit back and go, okay, so here's this fiery woman, and what is she doing? Like, I felt like she was trying to fit into this model. It's a Marxist model, so I get it. She felt aligned in certain ways, but here she was with these middle-aged white women. I mean, it was so strange. I'm like going, are they all on drugs? And I don't do drugs, so that was the
But
conclusion.
here's the thing, she was the alpha female.
Yes, she was.
And that's what I found growing up, because I had some more masculine qualities. So I'd always have young, fragile women want to be around me, because relatively speaking, I seemed more like an anchor, more like the oak tree.
Yes. Yeah. You're not chaotic. You're not chaotic.
Yeah.
You're,
And I think
you're
women,
logical. You're calm.
yes. Yeah. So, and I think, okay, when am I going to have a peer who's not always on the verge of a nervous breakdown, which is why we gravitate to having men as friends.
Absolutely. That is so, so true. What was
So,
your experience? Because this comes up a lot, and I know in my own experience, having a mother who was envious and jealous of just my ability to be calm under chaos. Like, she was just ranting and raving, and I would be like,
maybe you reminded her of your father.
could be. Yeah. Yeah. And I never knew him, so that could very, very well be.
Mhm.
So what was your experience
So
with
my
that?
experience was different in that my mother was she's still alive. She was a beautiful woman, very elegant, and my father was more masculine, more domineering, and she was on track to become a doctor. She had queried several female doctors to ask about that lifestyle of that career, and several of them said, well, do you want to have a family? And she said, yeah. And most of them said, then I wouldn't do this, because it's very difficult to be both a happy mother and a happy professional.
Wow.
So
Wow.
she chose
Very honest.
she chose the route of then having a family. And so she stayed at home with us. My dad was very volatile, and it was after he passed that she shared with us that she had wanted to leave him. But she
Wow.
felt like she couldn't, because here she's got these 3 kids. What's she gonna do?
Yeah.
So she stayed in an unhappy marriage. So I think for me growing up, I always remember being told that I was supposed to be a boy, and they even had a boy's name picked out for me. My name was supposed to be Reginald, and I was going to get called Reggie. And to this day, my mom has no recollection of that, but I don't think I made
Interesting.
that up.
Wow.
So I think she raised me to not be in her situation. So she always wanted me to be involved in leadership positions. I was doing activities that more boys were doing than girls.
Yeah.
She wanted me to be to study international business or international relations. She made me study Japanese so I could do that professionally. But I don't think she was looking at what I wanted to do. She was raising me in the fear of, I don't want my daughter to be in my situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So in hindsight, do you feel like that was actually a helpful track for you?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't. Because I think I lost touch with what my femininity was. She was a dancer, and she didn't have me do dance. And today I love dance. I wish I had, instead of doing athletics, because I wasn't really good at that, that I had to dance, because that's a real love for me. And she claims that my dad didn't want my feet to turn out like have her ballerina feet, but I wished I could have done that.
Wow.
So I've really had to kind of unlearn and detox from a lot of these masculine features that I think I just did because she had trained me that way. And then like so many young women who are taught to be aggressive and to be high achievers and to be first in the class and all those features, which are not exclusive to men. But I wasn't talked to about what it's like to raise a family and how to be a great mom, which I love. I love my boys are like my PhD dissertation of life.
Sweet.
I wish I could have put more thought and effort into that earlier. So I don't remember what you were asking me about that, but I know that as a young woman, I think I was so uncomfortable with being a female. I always wished I'd just been a boy.
Yeah.
That life would have been better.
I can relate.
I don't know if you can relate to that. Like a weird kind of misogyny where I never questioned my sexual orientation, but it would have been much clearer to me how to be a competent male than a competent female.
That is very astute, because it is a dilemma. How are we supposed to navigate being a woman and doing the career thing, doing the family thing, or doing the feminine thing? I remember at one point hitting one of those walls, and I had hair down to my knees, and I freaking shaved it off.
You shaved it off.
I
shaved it off, but my hair was only down to my back, but down to my knees, no.
But it was like, it was so freeing and disturbing. And I realized, wow, I could be a boy. I could be a boy. And I tried that out a little bit. I took athletic tape and bound my boobs, I remember, and, started wearing wife beater tank tops and stuff like that. And just
you did the androgynous thing.
Trying to feel that out. And I'm thinking, why am I doing this again? Like, it's like I ran out of gas. It's almost like you're purging your house or you're cleaning your house, and you have all the intention to just get the shit out. And all of a sudden you have this chaotic shit all over your house and you're tired. And that's what happened to me. And I was tired and I missed my hair. And it was such a knee-jerk response to whatever wall I smacked up against. And I'm still to this day trying to figure out, what was that wall? What was that wall? And I think it was really the sort of activation within me that, okay, I'm out in the world and I trying to act like a man. And you know what? I don't like it. I don't want to look like a man. I don't want to emulate that. It's a lot of trouble to take athletic tape and bind my boobs. It's like, what? Why was I doing that? But it was a good social experiment at the time. It made me realize that there's some mechanism, some shadow material that I really, really needed to work with. And it was shortly thereafter that I started working with Pearl. But holy moly, just I still feel the freedom of that, getting buzzed and seeing my bald head.
That reminds me of the Natalie Portman scene from V for Vendetta.
Yes.
Although she was bawling her eyes out, getting her head shaved.
Yes. Yeah.
But that scene in that movie was her opportunity to recreate her identity.
Yeah.
It's very cathartic.
Yeah. Yeah, there was definitely some catharsis, and then major regret after that. And it took 3 years, 4 years to grow that hair out.
Thank goodness it grew back, because you have gorgeous hair. Well, what I see happening in this dichotomous space right now is more and more women are, they're seeing that this masculinized pathway isn't working for them. So I'm seeing this rebound into a traditional conservative path where they're wearing their ephemeral sun hats and wanting to stay at home. And there are a lot of, what I find ironic is there are a lot of female podcasters who are pushing this tradcon agenda. And I know that that's also going to be a dead end for them.
Absolutely, because it's a reaction.
Yes.
And they're still not getting what they want because I don't think they've figured that out.
No, I don't think hardly anyone has figured it out. And
it's
we're in
kind
this
of role
new
playing.
frontier.
Playing. We're trying this script.
Yeah, you're trying it on
For size, just like I tried on, the bald look and that kind of thing. And it didn't work because ultimately I am very, very, very feminine. And I think also too, as women, particularly in the baby boomer Gen X, that social narrative of be all that you can be and all that kind of stuff, we can all do it all. And it came on the heels of the push of second wave feminism. And I remember thinking, do I really want to do all that though? Not really. I don't want to do all that.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't contemplative and reflective in that way.
Not. This is just what we do. I remember a lot of women defaulting to that. It's just what we do. You don't think about it. It's like, okay, but I am thinking about this and I'm feeling into it and it's making me anxious,
Well, one of the things that I wanted to do was to help young women have that opportunity to reflect. And am I just playing out a script, or am I actually employing agency and choosing my pathway? So because I had a background in recruiting for Miss USA, I had a lot of connections with beauty pageant competitors who were all gorgeous, of course, but they were like men on the inside. And not happy. They just didn't seem like they were on a trajectory to be happy. So it was, and they're none of them are really aware of the plights of feminism. They'd mostly, if you ask most of them, they'd say, "I'm not a feminist, but." That was almost a pat answer for, "Are you a feminist?" I'm not a feminist, but. So I had this idea for several years about how could you open the mind of a young woman who's very confident and who has been not only competent in her script, but she's practiced it on stage in 6 heels. So I had developed, by that time, I had developed some friendships with gentlemen in the Manosphere. These are the Rollo, Tomassi, and
I love Rollo Tomassi.
Rollo is brilliant. And
he's totally brilliant.
His admission, he's not an alpha guy.
No, he's not. So he's something else.
His circle, he's more, you could call him a Sigma male. He's very, very bright, but he's not stereotypical.
My guy is a Sigma, so I get it. I totally.
Well, you and I are attracted to the sapiosexuals.
Yes.
We don't want this, the brawn. We want the brains too.
Yeah, I want the brains. I want the brains. It's good.
So there were enough guys in this sphere who I thought were very convincing as alpha masculine men. And I thought, well, what if I had those guys ready to have a conversation about feminism, not directly, but indirectly through dating and relationships, to help these young women identify that their belief systems were not going to get them to their finish line. So
really not.
So I recruited a bunch of beauty pageant competitors, and I asked them if they would like to interview alpha men on topics of their choice.
Oh my
so
God.
They felt like they're in control and they get to, they're sitting in the driver's seat. But if an alpha male who's got a real Sigma mind, if they're very clever, and they've got the art of seduction down. They
Oh
can
my
flip it.
God.
They can
They'll
flip that
flip
role.
that script, and these
So that's what
women
we
will
did.
be, their heads are gonna explode.
Yeah, that's what we did in our Beauty Ask Beast series. The girls came in with their questions, but within 10 minutes, they forgot about their questions, and my guys would come in and then ask them questions and show them the logical fallacies, the hypocrisies, but
Good.
not in a blood sport, in your face
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
It's like it would be on a date. So I didn't want the girls to lose face. I didn't want them to look silly. I just wanted them to see that their beliefs were actually not all that logical, and
Yeah.
they were in contradiction to their ends, to have a great family and to be with a partner who has a lot of leadership skills, is
Mhm.
confident, and
Yeah.
it's not the 50-50, we're both
Yeah.
male,
No.
female. And I never knew where it was going to go, but some of the episodes, like our Femininity 2.0, that was recorded with one of the recent North Carolina Miss USA winners, and
Wow.
she interviewed John Sonmez, Bulldog Mindset John Sonmez, who was with me from the beginning, and she really opened up
That's
and
so
was
cool.
very vulnerable. And these beauty pageant competitors, they're not used to being vulnerable. They're used to staying on script and coming off as confidently beautiful. That's what they're told to do. Go
Mhm.
out there and
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
confidently beautiful.
Yeah.
Don't show any fear, don't show any confusion. You are Miss such and such. That's who you are. And I got them to take the tiara off
Wow.
during the interviews and just become themselves.
Mhm.
And what was
Yeah.
interesting, where this didn't work, is that they were embarrassed about the outcomes because they realized they weren't in control. And most of them asked me not to not post it. They
No.
didn't post it on their social media because it didn't represent this confident.
Isn't that interesting?
And so that's where my plan kind of failed, because I had hoped that they would put it up on their social media, and this would spread with other young women who could see
Yeah.
them have real conversations.
Right. And realizations,
Yes,
growth,
realizations.
be able to be
Yes,
humble enough to admit, you know what? I was wrong. My
yes, yeah,
assumptions were
yeah.
off.
So they wanted me to cut out certain parts, and
Oh my
it was
God.
that was so fascinating to me as a social scientist, because I hadn't thought that thought that part of it through. So what it turned out to be was, it became porn for guys in the manosphere to watch how to
Oh, I
seduce
bet.
people in real time.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it became popular with guys who are emulating their
Hmm.
alpha
Yeah.
choice,
Yeah.
but it really didn't penetrate into it where I thought it would go. But it
Yeah.
got picked up by several YouTubers who were having conversations about what it is to be a man, how to be a man. And they thought, wow, you mean we could have conversations with women and talk to them about these intersexual dynamics
Yeah. Yeah.
and dating and mating.
I've
And
seen
so
some of those. Yeah.
that went viral. So my project ultimately worked because all I wanted uh was to have men and women start talking about these things
Yeah.
that aren't talked about.
And to be very, very real about it.
Yes. Yeah. And
Brilliant.
shows like Fresh and Fit, even Rollo took that idea and he turned it into an Access Vegas where he brings in women, and little by little it's seeping into the mainstream.
So good. Good for you.
So now I'm writing a book geared towards masculine men, about thinking about how will you raise a daughter, because they're all about raising a son, but
That's so good.
they're not
Oh,
thinking about
and
how would
Rollo
I raise a
Tomassi has a
daughter.
daughter, right?
Yes, he has a daughter who's now married, and she was a
Right.
beauty pageant competitor. And in his seminal book, The Rational Male, the first volume, he dedicates 2 pages to raising a daughter. 2 pages.
I remember that.
Very short. So the work I'm working on is extrapolating on that. And I've talked to a lot of guys in that sphere. As soon as I talk about how would you raise a woman, they kind of clamp up and they go, oh, well, I picked a good female. They're just going to be her role model. And
It's
I think
like, okay,
it's going to
that's
take
good, but it takes, we are the sum of our parents' dramas, known and unknown. And so that's so cool. Good for you.
Are you familiar with,
can I pre-order that book?
well, it's going to be very controversial, and it's I still want to have more conversations with men about this, because I'm not I don't know. Like we talked about in the beginning of the conversation, this is a new frontier.
Yeah, it really is.
Because I think offering to women to just stay home and just cook and take care of kids, that's not satisfying. The toothpaste,
and a lot of women don't really want to do it.
Don't want to do that, but they get that those early years, those early developmental years are critical.
Yeah.
We get that we shouldn't be dumping our kids into daycare, into the hands of strangers. Okay, well then who's supposed to be raising the kids?
Yeah.
We could say that, men can do that. And I've seen, like, a lot of my brother's friends have been doing that, have been stay-at-home dads, but there have been studies that showed that testosterone drops precipitously when you're not in a protector provider role. And that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
If you don't use it, you will lose it.
You're going to lose it.
So to speak.
So, okay, so what are women supposed to do? We're spending all this time on prepping them for a corporate career that when they hit 30, they don't want to continue doing. I've recommended to young women that they go into fields that are lucrative part-time, so that you have the autonomy of a varied schedule where you're not tied to a 9 to 5. Because I've managed large teams of men and women, and actually my managing of men and women is what corroborated what I was seeing and what I was reading. Managing men and women are very different. Very different.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that. I'm curious.
I was a gym manager, and I managed a women's only exercise floor with female trainers, female massage therapists, and female attendants. And then I had a co-ed floor where I had guys. I was managing most of the personal training department. That I had hours that were very early in the morning. And I found out through trial and error that I could not count on a woman to open the gym.
You're kidding.
Because, and I'm not being sexist, but women have more physical ailments. We have our cycles. We have more, just more emotional ups and downs. And that doesn't mean women are bad. It's just these are the bodies that
these are our physiology or hormonal life.
So it's
facts.
I'd hire guys to open, because they'd come in if they were sick. They weren't plagued with a menstrual cycle that were attacking them once a month. And just managing women requires a lot more time and listening and empathy. That drive for needing an income was less, because a lot of the women were staying at home. So they could show up. They could just say, oh, I'm not coming in to train today or do my massage appointments today. And then I'm left with a mess. But I didn't have that with the guys. The guys were often on their own. They were their own breadwinners. They didn't have somebody back on. And it's not a criticism of men and women. We're just different. We're just very, very different. I'd have to write reviews twice a year, which is just something I hated to do, being in an HR role. And women really needed to be validated. They needed, I'd almost let them write their own review. Whereas the guys, like, Okay, what do you got to tell me? Yeah, I need to work on this, this and that. Fine. Where do I need to sign? Their reviews took 10
Yeah.
minutes because they weren't
The
as
facts.
sensitive.
Yeah.
But I had to approach that with my female underlings so different. And then relationship management was so much more complicated.
Wow. What was the general flavor? Like if you did that review with a woman, and say it was not necessarily a negative review, but a review where you
There were
pointed
some,
out some things.
yeah,
Was
where
it
there's some
received?
things. Yeah, so you'd have to sandwich it. You'd have to use the
Mhm.
sandwich approach of making sure
Yeah.
you padded it with a
Yeah.
lot of praise.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to use a lot of I messages. If I would use
Okay.
the word you do this,
Yeah.
oh, that was the end. The body language had totally
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
The nervous system is shutting down. They're getting into fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
And now we've gotten off course.
Yeah.
So one thing I would do in reviews is I would sit next to her, not in opposition.
Oh my God. So
We have to sit
yeah.
next to each other to show that we're together. We're together in this, and we have this challenge. We've got to be creative in how we overcome these issues, whether it's
Yeah.
kids at
Yeah.
home
Yeah.
and how would you do what advice would you give me? And I put
Yes.
them in a consulting role, but this is a lot of work.
Yeah,
After
it
this.
is a lot of work. And this is actually my style also with working
With working with
with
women.
men and with men and women, because
Yes,
the
we're so
men who
sensitive.
come to me are so betaed fucking
Yes.
out. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, we're
They
gonna
need
have
you're in a mommy,
gonna
you're in a mommy
collapse here.
position.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even the alpha men who come to see me, they're like, you can tell that the guard is like, the shoulders are out here, and I'm just like, okay, let's just roll them back.
Yeah. They just want to know, am I good or bad?
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. We're
Yeah.
good. And then I'd let them tell me, vent on me. What can I do to improve?
Mm-hmm.
Let's hate on
Yeah.
Bob a
Yeah.
little bit.
That's really amazing. Did
But
you
that
ever?
taught me a lot about
Yeah.
the differences of men and women. So when people tell me, oh, we're the same, I'm like, no,
No.
we're not.
No.
And we're not supposed to be the same. Rollo always says, men and women are better together. We're better together than we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. There's an interface that
There's a
happens
synergy. Yeah.
because
There's a
of our
complementarity.
differences. And I think that's key. Like I tell people all the time, people will ask me about the relationship, whether it's friendships or intimate partnerships or even business partnerships. It's like, regardless of what relationship it is, you have to understand men and women, males and females, we think differently, we feel differently, we process emotions differently, if at all, and you just have to get with that. And if you don't get with that, good luck with you.
You have to embrace it.
Yes.
It's not a weakness that we have.
No, it's not. It's not a deficit.
It's a superpower. It's absolutely a superpower.
I
And
agree.
one of my philosophy teachers, he told me that in his corporate world, he'd surround himself with women because he admittedly was kind of on the spectrum. He'd call himself autistic.
Okay. Me as well.
Yeah, might as well. But he said, if I needed to know what the temperature in the room was,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have my female colleagues tell me. That's what I employed them to do. And they're killer salespeople.
Nice.
Because women have this extra, almost an ESP that men don't have. That's wonderful. We're
absolutely wonderful.
I think some men are even normal men are jealous of that.
Yeah.
Have so many skill sets. We don't need to be defective men to be competent in the world, but we don't have a lot of role models. And you know what's interesting to me, and I've always put this question out to male talking heads in the sphere of, in films, who are protagonists that you would have your daughter emulate?
That's a
And I asked this of Michael.
good,
I asked this of
yeah,
Michael, and I think, what did he say? He said Camille Paglia. Okay, well, Camille Paglia, and I love her to death. She's amazing. She's lesbian. So that's I kind of wanted to push back on Michael,
yeah,
and then he said
yeah.
Agatha Christie.
Oh, I
Nobody
remember
knows
that. Yeah,
who Agatha Christie is. So even Michael hasn't, to me, he hasn't thought this all the way through. We don't have a lot of protagonists because
yeah,
the female
no,
protagonists in film are the alpha females, the
yeah,
very
yeah,
archetype we're trying to get away from.
yes, yeah. Or they're just overtly sexual, aggressive, and
Yes, or you have the
manipulative.
femme fatale.
Yeah, the femme
Yeah,
fatale.
and that's the dragon mother
Yeah,
archetype.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's pretty powerful. A lot of the people that I work with, when they first come to me, um, they work with me because they're feeling this whole thing of what happened to them developmentally in utero. Like they have memories. The men talk about it. The women talk about it, being in mama's womb and absorbing her stuff, which is true. And it's true energetically. I think it's true physiologically, psychologically, psychically, on and on and on. And Michael has talked about it a great deal in his book, The Dragon Mother, and also, talking about the gynocracy and talking about our absorption in our mother's womb, all the stuff she avoids, all the stuff she hides, the stuff that she clings to. And then, going throughout all the lineages, there is the father influence, and also the atavistic collective pain body of all the atrocities of humanity upon each other.
yeah. So like for my culture, we had the interments
Yes.
to process that I know is still living inside of me and my brothers, and I
Yeah.
could just see it
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
unprocessed, and Asian Americans don't often go into therapy
No, they don't.
because we have this just kind of suck it up and
Yeah.
make the best of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
we're not self-reflective in that way.
Yeah.
So it just sits in our bodies
Yeah.
and turns into cancer.
It does. It turns into cancer. It turns into all sorts of aberrant behavior that's in secret. A lot of compulsive stuff. I mean, some of the things that people tell me, I'm just like, and I'm not in judgment. I realize, I think my deepest realization about this is we moms have a lot to answer for. I mean, and to begin that conversation, like I have women coming after me, like, you
Oh, I'll bet you do
can't
because
say that.
you're so
You can't say
blatant.
that.
Yes.
What are you? I've been called a patriarchy apologist.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I've had death threats because of it. I had a woman knock me down in Belfast. I did a talk about the masculine, feminine energies, not male or female, but just the energy of being and doing that resides in each one of
Yeah,
us.
the anima and animus
Absolutely.
that
And
we have.
this woman went off. I didn't even see her. And she pushed me from behind, knocked me to the ground on the street, spat on me. I mean, it
That's
was the
crazy. Wow.
weirdest,
So you
weirdest
really
thing.
triggered something
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
in her.
telling me I should be ashamed of myself as a woman.
Okay.
And so I get trolled a lot
Yes. Yeah.
because they
Because you're very
think
public and vocal
I'm
about it.
ass kissing men so that men will like me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm grandma. I'm like way beyond that at this point. I don't care.
I had a friend of mine. Uh, I told him we should make hats. We should make MAGA hats that say "Make women great again." And he made one for me. He made me a red hat.
I want one. So
So
awesome.
I would wear this with my boyfriend and wear it around Portland just as an experiment because I
Oh
wanted
my
to make sure I
gosh.
had somebody
Yeah.
who's who was going to protect me because I didn't know what that was going to be like. But I think part of being Asian is people don't expect hyperbolic things
Yes,
out of an
that's
Asian.
very true. It's an assumption.
It's an assumption that you're going to be docile, you're going to toe the line, you don't want to make
Mhm.
waves. So
Gonna be
I'd go wear this
pure and
hat, and
sweet.
I think people were so confused that nobody said anything to me because it was such cognitive dissonance.
Chicken.
It just cracked me up. He would love to go out with me because he just said, "This is great.
Oh
People
my
watching
God,
you, watch
that's
people look at
fantastic.
you, look at your hat, look at me, go back and forth, and just have no script for that."
That is fantastic.
But I think because you're putting things out in a video, people can think about it. They can realize I'm triggered. This is pissing me off. Now I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
think about what my
yeah,
response is. But
yeah.
in real time, people don't know what to
And
do.
so this is where women go who come after me. And I've had to adjust things on my YouTube channel to not let those comments go because they're so unbelievably toxic. So when they realize that I'm older, what they'll do is they will get on my appearance. And so I've got a bag under here. So they'll go
Oh, yes.
for
Yeah.
my, my wrinkles, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
64. Fuck
Totally
off.
low blows. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
cares?
If someone did that to them
Yeah.
or their best friend,
Yeah.
they would say, "Oh, how dare they?"
Yeah. Yeah. But that's where they will go. They
Yeah.
will go there. Just like in my old YouTube channel, when I used to interview some of the pickup artists, just get down on my age, the MILF, the cougar, whatever, and just dismiss the conversation entirely because
Yeah. Total
they
straw
hit a
man
wall.
and
They
vomit.
hit another wall and they
Yeah.
won't go there.
Yeah.
It's too, heaven forbid you change your mind about something or evolve beyond some kind of concretized notion that is absolutely limiting your life or your way of being. When, I think the bottom line, we all want the same things.
Yeah.
I think we all want
We
the
all
same
want-
things.
Yeah.
And
We all want to love and be loved.
we're locked in holding a position that really makes no sense, is really harmful, and just continues the divide. And the rift is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's getting more weaponized. And it's
You know how
getting
they say
more,
we're mostly water, we're 70% water or maybe more. And I think people are just walking around as puddles of shame.
yeah, absolutely.
Walking
That
puddles
is so
of
true.
shame. And
Agree.
it's just it's really sad, but most people need to know they're safe.
Yeah.
And nobody feels safe right now. Everybody's feeling judged. Social media doesn't help. There's scarcity everywhere. We're constantly being told that there's going to be a financial crisis that's going to happen tomorrow. And so what do? We act out
Yeah.
because
We act out.
we're
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you if you are familiar with because I know you're really into esoterica and mythology. Do you remember the myth of Eros and Psyche? The
I
Greek myth.
do. I
Eros and
do. Yeah.
It's you are so well read, but I would imagine that a lot of your listeners uh, don't remember or have never heard of that myth. But I love that one in terms of this feminist plight that we're working on overcoming because
Mhm.
it's a story about a beautiful maiden and who comes in contact with an alpha male who's the god Eros, who's absolutely gorgeous. And it's about how she loses him because she gets gaslit by her evil jealous sisters, and Aphrodite is hating on her because she's so beautiful, and people are not going to the temple of Aphrodite anymore. They're spending too much time checking out Psyche, and she she, she ends up well, Aphrodite, the mother of Eros, who becomes Cupid later on, she says, "I want you to attack this supposedly beautiful young maiden with one of your arrows, and I want you to make her fall in love with the most hideous beast. So he goes out to do this task for his dragon mother, and when he sees Psyche, he's so shocked by her beauty that he stumbles and pricks himself with one of his own arrows, causing him to fall in love with her, which only pisses off Aphrodite.
Of course. Yeah, and this is the plight of the dragon mother.
Yes.
Or the
Yeah.
bad dragon mother.
Yeah, who's just jealous. Instead of
yeah.
taking this young maiden and showing her the ropes, she just suppresses her and just wants her to just blend in with the masses.
Yeah.
It's like this notion, the German word Schadenfreude, that we're only happy with others' misery.
Yeah.
So then there's an element in Eros and Psyche where of the weak father who doesn't know how to protect her, and she has these two sisters who get married. They get married to good men who can provide, and his father just has this one maiden left who wants to marry off, and no one will marry her. So he goes, because he's a good Greek, he goes to the oracle and he says, what do I do about my daughter who I can't seem to marry off? And the oracle says, well, she's doomed never to marry a mortal man. So you need to take her up to the cliffs so that she can be taken away and just dispensed with. And what does he do? Because he's a weak father, he says, okay. And he takes Eros up to the cliffs, and she gets taken off to a castle. Where the Beauty and the Beast themes comes in is she goes to the castle. It's absolutely magnificent. She has everything she wants, but she has this beast of a husband who tells her, you know what, you can have anything you want, but as long as you don't try to inquire into who I am. So she falls in love with him, even though she can't see him. And she's just happy as a lark because she has this library and she's mentally stimulated, and he's really sweet to her. He's not a beast at all. He's just everything a man could be, and he's the alpha male. And then her tragedy is she says, you know what? I have everything I want, but I'm bored. I am bored. Can my sisters come and can I just hang out with them? I want to show them, my house where I live. Yeah, it's a castle, but I just want to see them again. And he's in a weak moment, he says, okay. So she brings the sisters in, and are they happy for her? No. Her sisters are jealous. And so they gaslight her and they tell her, you know what? You don't know who you're married to. You remember the oracle said that you would never marry a good man, that you'd only marry a beast, and you haven't seen him. So tonight you're going to go up with a lantern and a dagger to prepare yourself to confront your husband who's a beast. So she screws it all up. She brings the lantern. She sees who the man is, and it's Eros, who's this perfect, absolutely perfect god of a man. And she stumbles and she hits the lantern, and it burns his wings, and he leaves, he escapes. And then she forever spends the rest of her life trying to find this guy, which is like what women often do. They get together with an alpha male, and then they're sold the story of feminism. And then they're always pining away for that masculine guy that they sought in the beginning, who they were told, no, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then in this story of Eros and Psyche, she goes back to the dragon mother. She goes back to Aphrodite and says, how do I reconnect with Eros? She doesn't know that Eros is Aphrodite's son. And Aphrodite says, well, if you complete my 3 trials, I'll get you back together with Eros. But that's not what she meant to do. She just sends her down this goose chase. The first thing she does, which is emblematic of being a good student, is she says, I want you to count to she gives her all these beans and barley and grain. She dumps them all over the ground. She says, I want you to sort them and count them correctly. And that'll be check number 1. This is like going to school. Okay, I got to learn
Mhm.
all these different things that
Yeah.
don't really matter to me, and I have to be good at accounting. And she completes that task. School's done. Their next task is Aphrodite tells her, I want you to go retrieve for me the golden fleece. Where is that story from? That's from Jason and the Argonauts.
And the Argonauts.
So
Oh my God.
now Psyche has to go do this. Well, she's not equipped to go and battle these ferocious rams, but she has help from the river alongside where the rams are sleeping, and he coaches her into how to get the rams. So she completes that task, and she brings Aphrodite the fleece. Then Aphrodite's like, geez, what am I going to do to foil this girl? So she says, okay, you're going to travel to the underworld, and I want you to get a special box from the goddess of the underworld, Proserpine, who I think was Persephone, but she becomes Proserpine or Proserpina. And she has this beautiful box with the shard of beauty, and I want you to bring that back for me. So of course, there are many trials and tribulations that Psyche has to go through to get down to Hades. And by this time, she's aging. This doesn't take like a nanosecond. This takes her lifetime to complete. She finally goes down and she meets Proserpina, gives her the box, and Proserpina says, okay, here's the box to give to my sister Venus. And it has a shard of beauty in it. But don't open it. Don't be tempted to open this, or bad things will happen to you. So this is where Psyche makes her next mistake. She retrieves the box. She's about to ascend. And she's like, my looks aren't so hot right now. I sure could use some of that beauty. What if I just open the box just a little bit? Nobody's going to know. She opens the box and she gets enveloped in smoke. And here's the Sleeping Beauty. She gets knocked out. She's now down for the count. She can't bring this box back up to Venus. So Eros, meanwhile, he's gotten over his wounds. He comes down, he finds Psyche, he resuscitates her, he brings her back to life, but now not as a mortal. He brings her back up to the Olympic mountains, and she's now a goddess. She's had to relinquish her life as a mortal woman, and she can only continue with her love of her life, Eros, as the goddess of the soul, and that's why she was named Psyche.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what we're doing is we've gone through all these trials and tribulations. To me, going on that journey is like women saying, I have to go see the world. To be a complete woman, I've got to go and travel. That's what all women want to do, right? They want to go travel. But we're going away from what may bring us happiness.
Yes.
Now, we're this alpha widow, Rollo's term, the alpha widow. And we're trying to figure out what is the pathway. It's not the pathway of Psyche, who was foiled by Aphrodite, who was foiled by the dragon mother. We're not listening to those women. What are we going to listen to? And here we are today. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you tell me.
But that journey of doing all the trials and tribulations, that is our lives.
That is our lives.
Our everyday lives. We're just slugging it out, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And, it's the pathway of, somebody was saying, well, we just have to discern more. Well, how do you discern if you don't fuck things up? How do you figure out what is right if you don't understand what is wrong?
Okay.
And that is that path of contrasting experiences.
Yes.
Where that's how we get real.
It is how we get real. And I want to, if you were to put together a curriculum for young women to have a pathway of learning discernment, what are some of the features of that curriculum? I'm not putting you on the spot here.
No, number one, men and women, males and females, think differently, feel differently, they're physically different, and just really embrace all those differences.
And embrace that.
And not ever, okay, default to that sort of what is it that Rollo said, the one-itis kind of thing,
Leonidas, yes,
where
yeah,
one size fits all. No, no,
yeah.
no, because each one of us has a particular, we've got a particular flavor. We have a particular passion. So one size does not fit all. It will never fit all.
Mhm.
And to be very, I mean, the discernment here is to learn how to be yourself without making anybody else wrong. Allow yourself to be who you are, knowing that everybody else is different from you. I think that's key. And I know when I say that to people, men and women, people look at me like I've got 5 heads. It's like, what is she talking about? You know, this is just some esoteric. No, it's not there's nothing esoteric about it. I think it's basic. It's basic common sense. It's basic facts. And to be able to like really own your attention when it comes to that, or anything else for that matter, because we're so, what is it? You know, when people are following a script, it's automatic. They
Yeah,
don't even
yeah,
think. They don't
yeah.
even think what
We're
they're
always
doing.
reacting. We're
Yes.
reacting.
Our
Mhm.
attention is hijacked by whatever in the matrix is in front of us, or whatever we're tripping out in our heads. And we
Do you
have
think,
to
do you
come
think a
to
lot
the
of people don't,
center.
do you think most people have that capacity to make their own choices?
I think we do. I think we do, but I think we've all been mind controlled
Okay,
to
yeah,
just go along to get along, or to want a sense of belonging. Because
it's
that
that.
sense of belonging is really important. Because if you don't have the tribal belonging, you know, if you were ousted out of your own family, like I was, you're going to be,
That's exactly what I mean.
yeah,
So you're okay being the black sheep.
I
I'm
am
okay being the
totally
black sheep.
okay. I hate groups. I will
That's
not
not
join.
most people. That's
Yeah,
not most people, and that's not most women.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's challenging to, I think, to tell young women, think for yourself, and you got to, and it's normal to want to belong, because
yeah,
your nervous system
yeah.
feels like, I need to
Yes,
belong
yeah,
more than I need to be right.
yeah. But you got to
Oh,
belong to
know
yourself.
that.
You have to belong to yourself.
Okay, that's it. That's an interesting. Okay, so we
I love
often
it.
have so many parts to ourselves
Yeah,
that are not coherent.
yeah.
That's what
A lot
is,
of
I love it.
working, moving parts
Yeah,
that, and this is the thing, is that the gears don't fit. We are not put together like the male brain.
yeah.
It's not logical. It is crazy. It's kooky. It just, you know, I don't even want to say it's crazy and kooky, because it's just different.
Mhm.
We're not going on a straight line. We're kind of doing this kind of thing. And I
Yeah,
know
we're
I discovered that for
multitasking.
myself. I'm thinking, I'm fucking insane. And then I was like, no, you're not insane. This is it. This is the flowy nature of the feminine
Yeah.
dynamic. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just different. And I'm fluent in also male speak. So I, you know, anybody just want to sit rep with my partner? It's a sit rep. I can't do this thing. I can't do that thing. We go from point A to point B. He asks me a question, I answer it. That's it. No fluffy stuff, no feelings, no, well, no, we don't go there.
It's an information exchange.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah.
And you know what? It makes sense. And I do that actually quite a lot. So I've had to learn to be okay with the sort of inherent chaotic nature, or the flow nature of what it is that I do. But one of the things that I have to deal with is my autistic nature. So that flowy thing that I had to learn would stress me out. That's what my mother used to do. And I would watch this going, oh dear, help me. It used to freak me out. So, you know, there were things that I had to do in order to be calm And so from point A to point B, that straightforward thing, that directed thing, that makes me calm. And it's been, I'd say in the last 30, 40 years of my 64 years, that I've been learning to like really flow in this sort of windy nature of my true feminine self, without a judgment, without going, oh, girl, rein it in, because that is that sort of acerbic commentary that I think the malignant feminine, the malignant mother, the neglectful mother has, that influences us, where we've got to be like this and it's got to be like this and when in actuality the sort of the pushback around our feminine nature tries to suppress who we really are by nature. And so it becomes, we become our own worst enemies, endeavoring to be directed in a career in, this sort of hyper logic, when there's a lot of stuff going on in the background.
Or the flip side is going into this divine feminine and not
Yes.
addressing the shadow self.
Yes. That's the most important part right there.
Malignant feminine, because our shadow work seems to be the buzzword now. People, everyone's doing shadow work. But I don't hear, other than in Michael's work, I don't hear a lot of dissection on the malignant feminine.
I talk about it quite a lot. Yeah. And of course, you're going to get hated on, because a lot of the, the Gen Y, Gen Z, all those girls, women, girls.
Yeah.
They are adopting the malignant feminine in the most, it's caustic, entitled.
It is caustic. It is
like, it is like, I witnessed this exchange with this young woman who was telling her boyfriend off at the Trader Joe's parking lot. And I was riveted. I was like, I'm trying to find my phone. I realized I didn't have my phone with me, because I would have recorded that. I would have recorded it. I mean, she just was like, and this guy, I could tell that this guy had gone down this path before. He'd been in a receptive mode for this. It was building and building and building. She just went off.
But what are they supposed to do? What is it? What is a male arm to do when women go off like that?
He was, I mean, definitely would be classified as a simp, because he kept apologizing and kept apologizing. And she goes, don't fucking interrupt me, and it was just like this caustic, like I felt dirty, honestly. I felt polluted. I felt like she had upchucked this millennia upon millennia upon millennia of unbridled, undiluted feminine rage for whatever reason.
Did you know that belligerence that you saw, that in some places in Europe that was actually illegal, that you could get arrested? They were scolding laws.
Oh my God. Okay.
You would be arrested for that.
That's what she was doing.
It was not tolerated. And we don't have any kind of cultural police to deal with that. Everybody is scared because of
I wanted to go there.
Social order.
I really wanted to go there. And I'm thinking, she might have a gun, actually. She might shoot me in the face. Because she was so unhinged. And then after she was done, I'm sitting there in my car for 20 minutes while this is going on. And I was going to go in the store. And I'm just like, I'm listening to this, because it was such an amazing illustrative exchange
of this unbridled dragon mother.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It was unreal. And she goes, I hope you're hearing me. And it was just, I mean, her chin was up and her boobs were out. I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And after she calmed down, because she just went on and on, and then And she goes, okay, I'm done. She took out of her purse a list, gave it to him, and he went into the store. She got on the phone.
He's just whipped. It's sad, and
Yeah.
those men will change when the pain of staying is greater than the pain of
Wow.
leaving.
Yeah.
But it's just really, it's sad. But that's why I am happy to see this men's movement, as clunky as it is. Guys have to stand up and say no. They have to read books like No More Mr. Nice Guy, and start to have boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my friends said that his perspective on feminism is that in World War II, tons of masculine men died, right, from the war, leaving this huge vacuum that women had to fill in men's roles. There was just all of a sudden just masculinity just practically wiped off the planet. And that women are very resentful of having to play these roles. And that was the perfect laying the groundwork for this virus of feminism to unfold in all of its various iterations of it. And what women want, what feminists, these pink and blue haired feminists want, is they want a real man in their life to say no, just stop it.
Yeah.
And so because nobody's saying no, they're just going to keep pushing the envelope and pushing the envelope. So my hope is we find a way, like Michael says, women have to step up and start saying no.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
and they have to
shocking.
start digging into those really crusty, shitty, stinky places where we default to man-hating. We default to blaming it on the patriarchy. We default to this sort of elitism. Well, if he wants all this, I hear the shit.
This entitlement. Yeah.
God, stop it.
But it's hubris on top of shame.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm looking at the time and going, holy moly. How are you doing for time?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't know if we hit everything on your list.
We did, and then some, and I'm absolutely gonna have you back again.
Thank you, Maya.
This is such an important conversation that we are having. And there is so more. I mean, we just scratched the surface on things. And thank you for asking the question about creating a curriculum, because these are the things that I'm thinking about in terms of up-leveling. I used to have a course called on my Teachable school, which is no longer, called Masculine Feminine 101. And it is like going into the differences and embracing the differences of the masculine brain, the feminine brain, the masculine heart, the feminine heart, the penis and the vagina, the phallus and the yoni, and just getting into a deep conversation to unify these separate parts.
Yeah, like you said, and embracing it.
Embracing it, exactly.
Instead of being scared to talk about it. On my Beauty Ass Beast channel, I have a tab titled something like Differences Between Men and Women. And it's just filled with videos that highlight all these differences.
Yeah.
That I think we know, but it's so taboo to talk about. Why is it? Why is it taboo?
I think it's the mind control, actually, of the gynocracy. And I know that in my research and in my, being out there in the world and going to this place and that place and, just witnessing the trafficking that was organized by women, mothers, selling their children, selling their community's children for profit. And just the cruelty alone of that, it's like, what the fuck? Wow. You are so that far disconnected.
Yeah,
from
the pathology.
it's
So
a
bad.
mess. It's
Mhm.
a mess. It's a mess. And nobody wants to go down there, and I think it's one of
Because
the
it
reasons
touches on
why.
everybody's life. When I
Yes, it
talk
does.
about this to most people, the body language shifts and there's typically nothing but discomfort.
Yes.
Very few people want to talk about this. They're happy to talk about sex and dating. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But when we touch on subjects that identify the hypocrisy that most of us are living, oh man, we couldn't change the subject fast enough.
Yeah. And I go there. I like going there. And hasn't made me all that popular, but it's okay. I'm not here for that.
Yeah, but you're here
Here.
because now you're filtering and you're finding conversations that are interesting to you. I
Yeah.
think that's what's so
Yeah.
great about the
Yeah.
internet is,
Yeah.
yeah, most of us have had to sever ties because of the last 4 years, and we're
Yeah.
finding out that helped us to discern the differences
Yes.
in values that we have, but we have this instrument that is helping us to find our peeps, to find our tribe, and it's weird because we're interfacing on this other 2D
Yeah.
network.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
I'd much rather talk to you for 4 hours than people I grew up with because that's boring. I've done that
Yeah.
since.
Well, it goes nowhere. It goes
Yeah,
nowhere with me. They're all going, oh, just be happy in retirement. It's like, I'm not gonna retire anytime soon. I like what I do. I
yeah.
like the
What is retirement? Why
conversations.
would you retire from what?
Yeah.
Because
I don't
we're
know.
here. We're here to work. We're
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
we're here.
And it's not even
To
work. I mean, it really
No,
is.
no, that's what I mean. What you're doing,
Yeah.
it's work, but it's your vocation. You're doing your
Yes.
vocation,
Yes.
what you're
Yes.
here to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to pay bills and look after that because we don't want to be in a welfare type of situation. We
Yeah.
are here to be responsible for our own energy management, but if we
Yeah.
can do that and then we have leftover energy,
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
others because that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And that's just so good. It's so good. So thank you so much
Thank you, Maria.
for your time, for your energy, for your wisdom. I just really enjoyed myself so much.
I did too, likewise.
Just the synergy and the energy. And also, I think what you and I are doing, we're not just laying down a new foundation. We're leveling up in terms of human consciousness to stop that divide, to stop the war, that divide and conquer that is socially engineered by the powers that want to be, by the
100%.
bureaucracy, as pushed by the chivalric males and the yes men of the shit show that is the Matrix. And what you and I have done is we've extricated ourselves from the Matrix, and I've noticed the patterns, and we're interrupting those patterns
Mhm.
by it's like, okay, kids, let's wake up now. Let's see how we are being purposefully manipulated to go to war with each other. And for what? For what? To weaponize victimhood, to weaponize
Yeah, there's no
hatred.
valor in that.
No,
There's
there
no
isn't.
nobility in
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
It's just it's so sad. And I just hope that we get better and better at being able to figure out who those other people are who do have that latent
Yes,
valor and nobility that just hasn't come out of its shell yet.
yes.
Because the past 4 years we've been able, it's been a surprise of who wore the mask, who didn't wear the mask, who questioned, who
Yeah,
who
yeah,
into the jab and who didn't. And I could predict maybe 75% of it, but not all of it. Some people really surprised me,
yeah. Oh, I was totally surprised.
which is
Yeah,
awesome because we don't know.
yeah,
We're
we
going through
don't
this
know. We
partially
get
blind and we're going to make
pushed
mistakes.
pushed into a demise narrative.
Yes, yeah. One of the things
And
I really like about your show, because I watched a lot of your shows to to get in sync with kind of who you are, is you're very humble about acknowledging that your path was very windy. It was not a straight and narrow path, and it was not that I did everything right along the
No,
way.
I fucked up a lot.
And myself too. I've made so many mistakes, and that's why I don't want other young women to make as many mistakes. Yeah, you
Yeah,
learn through
yeah.
mistakes, but if we can tolerate the landmines,
That's a good way to put
I
it.
want that for more and more
Yeah,
young women. And
yeah,
it's not okay today to be wrong. Like
yeah.
we can't admit, oh, I made a mistake. That's the first thing I do to neutralize a bad situation. I go,
Yeah.
oh, I messed up, my bad.
Yeah,
I was
that's
wrong.
what I
Even if
say.
didn't know,
Whoop,
even
I
if
fucked
wasn't
up. Yeah,
because that just helps people to settle down. I'm not your adversary.
yeah, yeah. I'm
We're
not the enemy
trying to
here.
do this together, and I know you're being weaponized. I'm being weaponized. We are, in a way, we're not the victims, but we're the targets.
Yes.
Everybody is a target. We
Yeah,
share in that tribal tragedy
yeah,
to
yeah,
a certain degree.
yeah,
So we can just stop fighting and be okay with information,
yeah,
not get hurt by it.
yeah. Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you
Exactly.
very much.
Thank you. Is there anything that you want to just parting words for our viewers before
I
we
think you
close
said
out?
it. My mantra over and over again is that men and women are different, and we just need to embrace that and be willing to grovel our way into something new that'll be fraught with its own mistakes, but not be afraid to try, like you said, try in another suit, because we know
Yeah,
what doesn't
it's like,
work. That's what we know.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Like,
if anyone wants to get in touch with me, they can. I have a contact form on my website, which is meganusui.com, meganusui.com. I've loved to get in touch with people who resonate what we're talking about, and to have more of these conversations.
beautiful. We'll have all of Megan's information in the show notes below. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you again, Megan. And okay, kids, that's it for today. So until next time, here is to Love, Truth, and Beauty. Mwah! Chabelas!